Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a concept that literally flips traditional management right on its head. We're diving into Ian Slade's insights on the true mechanics of leadership. You know, if you've ever wanted to figure out how to genuinely guide and motivate a team, well, you're in the exact right place. We're going to break down how leadership actually works out there in the real world and reveal what is basically a leader's ultimate secret weapon. Let's just get right to it. So, I want to speak directly to all the aspiring leaders out there for a second. I want you to ask yourself with total honesty, are you just chasing titles? It's incredibly easy, right? It's so easy to fall into this trap of thinking that the next promotion, maybe the next little bump in your job description, or, I don't know, that fancy new placard on your desk is what suddenly transforms you into a real leader. You start believing that the second your email signature says director, everybody's just going to magically fall in line. But as Slade points out, that is a really dangerous illusion. And this illusion, it's what we call the title trap. The fundamental mistake that so many new managers make is relying entirely on their positional authority. I mean, imagine trying to resolve a super complex team dispute by just throwing your weight around and saying, hey, we're doing it this way because I'm the manager. It instantly wrecks morale. It just builds this massive wall between you and your team. Because at the end of the day, authority is literally just a label on a piece of paper. Influence, though, influence is the actual currency of human connection. We've got to stop chasing those titles and start focusing on building real influence. There's this huge, stark contrast between being a boss and being a true leader. Bosses basically extract compliance through mandates. They order you around. We all absolutely know the type, right? That manager who just hovers over your desk, demanding updates out of nowhere just to justify their own existence. True leaders operate on a completely different wavelength. They inspire. Look, extracting compliance might get your spreadsheet finished by 5 p.m. today, sure. But sparking genuine motivation, that creates a self-sustaining engine of excellence. It is literally the difference between dragging people kicking and screaming across the finish line versus having them willingly sprint right there beside you. Okay, so true influence really comes down to this one super simple metric. People listen because they trust you, not because they have to. This right here is the absolute linchpin of the entire concept. When a boss speaks, well, people listen because their paycheck depends on it, right? But picture a high-stakes team meeting. Everything is going wrong. Total chaos. When a leader with real influence speaks in that exact moment, the room doesn't quiet down out of fear. It quiets down because the team genuinely values the perspective and trusts the person actually offering it. That feeling of obligation is totally replaced by trust. So how in the world do you actually build that trust? Well, it requires a massive, fundamental shift in focus. You have to move away from the rigid enforcement of rules and pivot toward cultivating mutual respect. Think about it. Rules are just boundaries. They tell people exactly what they cannot do. In fact, research points out time and time again that strict adherence to rules just breeds this bare minimum compliance. You know, people do exactly what they're asked and absolutely nothing more. Respect, however, is expansive. It opens things up. When you focus on treating your team as capable, super valuable contributors, that respect begins to breed real innovation. That is exactly how deep loyalty is forged. And when you successfully build up that trust and respect, your team's output transforms. And the best part? It happens voluntarily. You start reaching what we call the extra mile. But what does that actually look like in real life? It's not just some abstract corporate buzzword. The extra mile is, say, a team member catching a critical error in a presentation at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday and actually staying to fix it, even though it wasn't technically their job. Or it's someone stepping up to mentor the new hire without ever being asked. You suddenly don't have to beg or bribe your team for their best effort anymore, because going above and beyond just naturally becomes the heartbeat of your whole environment. But why do they go that extra mile? Here's a hint. People absolutely do not push their limits for a boss's job title. Have you ever stayed super late or just poured your absolute heart into a project simply because your manager had the word senior in front of their name? Yeah, of course not. No way. People go the extra mile because they are genuinely inspired by a leader's vision. A title is inherently all about you, the manager. But a vision is all about the shared future that you are actually building together. And here is the hard truth. Influence isn't given, it is earned. Just let that sink in for a second. No one is going to hand you influence in a little welcome packet on your first day at the office. It's just not going to happen. Earning it requires consistent action. It takes daily empathy, and it demands unwavering integrity. This specific truth right here is exactly what permanently separates the truly great leaders from the average everyday managers out there. So what does all of this actually look like in practice, starting tomorrow morning? Well, here is your playbook. First off, stop chasing titles. They're just a distraction. Second, focus your daily energy on earning respect rather than just enforcing arbitrary rules. Third, share a compelling vision. Give your team a real reason to want to go that extra mile. And finally, put all of that together and consciously start leading with influence.
You now understand the profound difference between authority and actual relational power. You know that ordering gets compliance, but inspiring gets commitment. The choice of how you use this is now entirely up to you. So what's it going to be? Will you rely on your title today, or will you actually step up and earn your influence?